Good Wednesday morning, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Red and Black Sports Report right here on 90.5 FM WUOG. Our man Quentin is not here this morning. He is at Georgia Football Pro Day getting some video in for our paper, so check out that content a little bit later. But myself, Maya Patel here, joined by Colin Hughley. We've got Jed May in the house once again, and Yash Bika, pinch hitting for Q, is in the house with us as well. Didn't have a show last week because of spring break, so we were all out of town. A lot of things happened. Men's and women's basketball both competed in their SEC tournaments. The women, right before we left for the break, the men lost the opener in the SEC tournament against Missouri when they got into action. We'll kind of wrap up our conversation on men's basketball in just a moment. There are about 7 softball games into town. Decent performance by the Georgia softball team. Dropped a couple, won the other ones. The Georgia baseball team had a strong showing, opened up conference play by sweeping South Carolina in Columbia. Picked up another win last night, setting up a huge weekend series against LSU in Athens this weekend. Track and field had the indoor national championships out in, I believe that was somewhere in Alabama, the Birmingham, Hoover area. And men's and women's tennis also had some competition. But with that, we will jump kind of into our final men's basketball chat of the spring. And Jed, you're one of the 3 beat writers this year for the men's basketball team. Lost the last 2 games of the regular season against South Carolina and Missouri, and then replayed Missouri in the SEC tournament to kind of open things up. Not able to win that one. What'd you see? What was your takeaway? I'm forgetting the guy's name, but didn't someone from Mizzou drop 30?
Geist. Jordan Geist, yeah, career high 30 or 31 points, I think. And I think, it seemed like almost once Georgia got that win over Florida on March 6th or 5th, whatever that happened, that Saturday night, it seemed like that was the point that this team was working towards. They beat Vanderbilt early in the season, and then they had the long conference losing streak. So it felt like once they got that second win, some of the...
Like, all right, we're phoning this thing in.
We're phoning it in? I thought you were talking about the show.
No. That's the mindset, right?
We got some moving around.
It felt like they won the game, then they let go of the rope.
Yeah, because you get blown out by Missouri at home on senior night. You get blown out by South Carolina.
You score 39 points.
Yeah, and you get blown out by South Carolina on the road. And South Carolina's a good team, but you would think, because before that Florida win, they'd been competitive. They were losing, I think it was 4 games by 9 points is the ill-fated stat against NCAA tournament teams. And then after you get that Florida win, they just dropped off the cliff. The Missouri, let's see, the final game, the tournament game against Missouri was, I think, 12 or points. Let's see, look at the score. It was a 10-point loss to Missouri in the SEC tournament. So, but yeah, it just felt like they got that win against Florida. And then after that, the season was, not to say they quit on the season, but, there wasn't maybe that sense of urgency of, we have to get one more conference win.
Really, Missouri just waxed them up is essentially both times. Missouri was playing well. They gave Auburn a run in that next round game of the SEC tournament. I think Auburn pulled away at the end. Obviously Auburn destroyed everyone on its way to the SEC title, so maybe Missouri was just playing well, and that makes it look a little worse, but still.
When you look at the stats here, so in the win against Florida, Georgia shot 56% from the field, and the 4 games before that, they had shot 47, 41, 52, and 53%. So
pretty good.
Pretty good, especially for a team that struggled to make shots all year. And then you look at the last 3 games, they shoot 25.5% in that horrible loss at home against Missouri, 26.2 at South Carolina, and then in the SEC tournament against Missouri up to 36.7, but still nowhere near what they'd been in that stretch where they were barely losing NCAA tournament teams. So whether it's just like we mentioned, the lack of urgency or something, or just an ill-timed, cold shooting stretch that happens to coincide with the second win of the season. I don't know, but you look at the stats, clearly, they just dropped off the table after that win at Florida.
Yeah, the Georgia basketball team finishing at 11-21 on the season, 2-16 in conference play, and I just wanted to say, for the record, for our cameras up later, Colin and Quentin, who were on their high horses about, what was the number? It was 12.5, maybe 13.5. Took the over with complete confidence. 1.5 in the conference tournament there. Oh, yeah, easy. Book it. Michael and I were the pessimists in that one.
I did not say easy. I said I thought it was going to happen, and there was a path to it happening.
Sure.
To be fair to Colin and Quentin, the last show where they would have predicted that would have been before the regular season losses to Missouri.
Yes, it was right after the Florida win was
Right.
the last game they
So
played
at the time,
when we booked it.
To be totally fair, at the time, that was a good call. But
I thought so too.
if we would have done the show on
Maybe
Thursday,
they listened to the show and they're like, I can't let this guy be right.
you got to their head, Colin, so good work.
I did.
Either way,
rat poison.
win's a
some
win.
might say.
So with that, I mean, the season ends and it's pretty lackluster. It's not exciting. 11-21. Yet there's still this buzz about Georgia basketball for next season with 4 top 100 players. Obviously, the coveted recruit Anthony Edwards is coming into town. So going into the offseason, Jed, Colin, Yash, what do you guys think that realistic expectations are for this squad? What should everyone think? And when should we expect the fan base to, I guess, start caring again now that baseball's in full swing and spring football starting up too? When does basketball jump back onto the radar?
I mean, I think as soon as Anthony Edwards gets here, I don't know if there are plans next year to have another Stegmania type event, but if there are, then that is going to be it's going to be in a very exciting atmosphere just to have those freshmen on campus for the first time. Because I think this year it was a dunk contest and a scrimmage, in addition to 3-point contest with the women's team. So just see these freshmen, see Anthony Edwards, Jaquan Walton, in the dunk contest, in the scrimmage, live action for the first time. That's going to be. I feel like that'll have more of a hype atmosphere around it, like you see at Kentucky and Kansas. And not to say that students are going to be lining up 3 days in advance, but it's going to feel, I think, a lot different than it did this year. And this year, I mean, I was there this year. It was a pretty exciting.
I mean, most of the games still sold out.
Right. But I think next year, just getting these guys on campus, I think, and as far as expectations go, I mean,
is this a Sweet 16 or bust type deal now that you have all these players in here? And now earlier I was saying that Sweet 16 is that's
Sweet
a lot.
16,
no,
yeah.
I know that's a lot of pressure, but I feel like that's
make the tournament first.
expected. Yeah. And, well, I feel like the tournament's a foregone conclusion at this point when you've got 4 top 100 players. Anthony Edwards alone should be enough to propel you into the tournament. But I mean, where's the realistic line going to be set? Is Sweet 16 kind of overreaching? Because I feel like tournament says too easy. So do you meet them in the middle?
Win a tournament game. How about
that's
that?
It? Okay.
Round of third. Win a tournament game. That is a big success.
Okay.
You make the tournament, it's still a success.
Right. I would say, make the NCAA tournament and be, what would you say, probably top 4 seed in the SEC, get the double bye?
4 or 5.
4 or 5, yeah.
4 or 5.
I mean, because, obviously Kentucky's going to be
a good league.
Yeah. Tennessee returns. I mean, Tennessee will still be pretty good.
Yep.
So, yeah, I would say 4 or 5 seed in the SEC, which should still probably get you in the NCAA tournament, right? Assuming they don't bomb the non-conference schedule.
Right, yeah.
They did this year. So, but yeah, like Collins, I think. See, the thing is, it's hard to say, okay, this year make the tournament, and the year after that is a Sweet 16 or bust, because we don't know if Anthony Edwards will stay here for 2 years.
Likely not.
Likely not, right? So you just don't. It's so much different to predict in football because there's more roster turnover from year to year when you get those big guys in here. So, but this year, yeah, I think like Colin said, I think it's make the tournament and I think, what do you think, Colin? Is that that should be the goal, but do you think that's a realistic?
Make the tournament is realistic. Good goal. But I say it's a big success if you win a tournament game, because when was the last time they won a tournament game?
Long time ago.
Was it the Herrick era?
Fox never won.
Fox didn't
win one, so he was here since what?
Felton also did not win one.
So that's 15 years or so right there.
So that would be, was it 2002?
When Anthony Edwards was
2
years old.
When Jim Herrick was the head coach, I believe they did win a tournament games then.
Is that one of the ones that got vacated?
Yeah, so I guess officially maybe they didn't win tournament games, but I don't know. Look that up, Jed.
Let's do a little research.
Just look up Jim Herrick's coaching record.
Isn't that crazy, though? A team in the big state school in the state of Georgia, as many good basketball players as you have, can't win a game in the top 64 teams in the country. No one's asking you to be one of the top 10 teams in the country, top 64 teams, and now one of the top 68 teams, and not able to win a game in the tournament in over a decade. Colin and Jed are doing some quick Google searching right now. But
2002, yes.
Yeah, so 17 years ago.
But there's an asterisk right there.
Yeah,
I assume that means
vacated.
it was vacated.
Yeah, so before that, that's absolutely that's crazy to think about. And Yash, what are your thoughts?
That just goes back to it's a said formula about bad recruiting. Bad recruiting in the state of Georgia. No Georgia head coach has actually been able to take a strong hold and get the players that they need within the state. So it just goes back to bad recruiting.
Say, Georgia Tech went to a national championship game since then, so it can be done here very easily. And this is the groundwork, not just because of Edwards, but you got 3 other top 100 guys that aren't necessarily one-and-done caliber. These are the guys that stick around that can be those multi-time All-SEC type players.
Admiral Schofield.
I was going to say, these seems like the kind of guys that Tom Crean builds his foundation on as his guys to buy into his system, and then by the time they're seniors, they're pretty much the biggest recruiters for the team. I think that is a weather system test going on in the background to make sure that the frequencies are working here at the station. And so if you guys can't hear us right now because you're getting the this is a movie, test, then we'll catch you again in about 30 seconds. But yeah, what were you saying, Colin?
So yeah, looking at these guys, we know about Anthony Edwards. Walton and Camera already signed.
Yep.
We've talked about them. Christian Brown, a new commit this past week.
6'6" forward.
Good. Ranked in the 247 composite as the second best player in Georgia's class right now. He was, for a long time, I know he was considered an NC State lean. Then I know Oklahoma State was in on it. I was pretty surprised when he committed to Georgia, but this guy's skilled, could be a nice wing player, looks athletic, got the long flowing hair. He dunks a lot. That's exciting. So he's a pretty good prospect out of Oak Hill Academy. We know maybe one of, if not the premier basketball schools in the country. So this guy's legit. And I wouldn't be surprised now with the transfer of T-Shawn Hightower, you could get another pretty good prospect. So we'll see who they're in on.
I want to interject with the tournament results here that I found on Wikipedia, everyone's favorite encyclopedia. Okay, so the last actual win was 2002. We mentioned that was vacated. So before that, Georgia 1996. Georgia went to the Sweet 16, upset 1 seed Purdue, typical Purdue, and then lost to the Sweet 16. Also, by the way, never pick Purdue in your brackets, kids. I've learned that lesson the hard way. Don't do it. Shout out Purdue. And then lost in the Sweet 16 to Syracuse. They also
the zone, man. No one can break a 2-3 zone in college basketball.
Georgia also had a win in 1985 before 1996 that was also vacated by the NCAA.
Wow.
So.
83, the Final Four run.
Right. So if you don't count the vacated years, there have only been 2 years in Georgia school history where they've won NCAA tournament.
And the most recent was 96?
Yeah, 96.
And 83.
83, yeah. Not counting the vacated.
The other two, there were 2 other seasons with still only 4 seasons.
In what, 100
This can't be right.
There might have been one player on the roster that was even born in 96.
Well, they've appeared in the tournament 12 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah.
Good counting.
How does Georgia not appear in a tournament in program history until 1983?
Well, those are wins, right?
No, that's appearances.
That's appearances. Yeah. Wow.
Is this right? It's Wikipedia.
Well, we'll double check it and get back to you guys.
I'm working on it, folks. I'm here to serve you, the people.
I got master journalist Jed May.
By the time that Jed leaves,
trying to confirm,
he will figure out when the last time that they won, which was 96, and the first time in which Georgia appeared in the tournament. But with that kind of wraps up the men's basketball talk for the year. It was an underwhelming season, but Tom Crean was still able to get people in the seats in year number 1, and so we'll see what year number 2.
He can't do the Butch Jones. Can't get a bunch of good players and not perform next year. If not, it'll be another Butch Jones.
Good recruiter and bad developer. That was the track rate that I think Butch Jones had.
Do we have a rating on whether Anthony Edwards has a 5-star heart or not? Colin, have you heard anything about that on 247?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think that composite drops next week.
We'll get Butch on the phone and ask.
I heard he was a champ of life.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Big life guy. So with that, Butch Jones talk,
I too am a fan of life.
We've got Pro Day going on just on the other side of campus. We're live from the Tate Student Center, and our guys Henry Queen and Quentin Van Hooser are live at Georgia Pro Day at the indoor football facility, getting set right about now to start the weigh-ins and then to start all the action after that. So follow them on Twitter. Follow us at Red and Black Sports, and check back at redandblack.com/sports all day for your coverage of Pro Day. But here's the list of people that will be competing in Pro Day: DeAndre Baker, Kendall Baker, Akil Crumpton, Lamont Galliard, Terry Godwin, Miko Hardman, Jackson Harris, Jay Hayes, Elijah Holyfield, Jonathan Ledbetter, Nick Moore, Isaac Nada, Natrez Patrick, Keon Richardson, Riley Ridley, Jason Stanley, Landon Stratton, Jawan Taylor, Trammell Terry, DeAndre Walker, and Jarvis Wilson. So those are the people who will have pro days
You know
for
that
the
name,
Georgia
Jed.
Bulldogs.
You know Tramel Terry,
I do know.
2013.
who transferred to Jacksonville State, was a fairly highly rated recruit. Didn't work out here. 247 Sports Composite, 121 overall, 4-star recruit, number 1 player out of the state of South Carolina in 2013. Looky there. But didn't pan out at Georgia, but I guess they've extended the olive branch to let him come back and show his stuff here at the UGA Pro Day. What a nice gesture.
Well, I guess so. So right now they're basically getting all the measurements, height, weight, stuff like that, and then they'll get into the actual drills. But what are expectations for Pro Day, do you guys think? Because obviously that's a big list of names, and some guys will compete in maybe just the 40 at 4 Day to try and improve their time. Others will maybe just catch passes or stuff like that, and basically whatever's going to improve their stock. But undoubtedly there's going to be a lot of NFL scouts for a lot of really good football teams out there watching and watching closely. And so who needs a good Pro Day showing the most? Let's go out of the whole list, but mainly out of the recent class that is just going.
Mm-hmm. I think my thing is just pretty much every Georgia player that ran the 40 at the Combine.
Yeah.
They were told they underwhelmed. Especially a lot of the scrutiny went towards Elijah Holyfield. I believe his best time was 4.78 at the Combine as a running back. You want to run a little faster than that. So we'll see if he can get up into the 4.6s. I think that would really improve his stock. Isaac Nauta, I think maybe could be capable of going a little faster. I believe he was a 4.9 at the Combine. And even DeAndre Baker, he was a 4.55? He was somewhat solid speed, but if he can get that down to a 4.5 flat, maybe the high 4.4s, I think he could solidify himself as potentially a top 15 pick. So I think the most money to be made here today is by DeAndre Baker, and I really think it's focusing all on the 40 times because no one else, I'm trying to look at it, no one really underwhelmed drastically in the other drills at the Combine. So these guys just need to improve their 40 time. But I'm looking mostly at Baker, and I think everyone's going to be watching Elijah Holyfield.
Yeah, but why do we care about the 40? I mean,
right. What is 0.1 seconds? But that's a whole other thing.
And with nobody guarding you, you're just like nobody coming after you.
No pads.
You will never see that in football unless you have a breakaway 90-yard touchdown in which, the 40 yards you can probably slow up and take your time because it's going to be the end with nobody being able to catch you. But I don't get why there's so much emphasis put on
straight line speed.
Three-cone
drills are more
1/10 of a second. Yeah, the 3-cone drill, I like that. Kind of your lateral movement and agility a lot more. But going back to what you mentioned about Holyfield, if Holyfield cannot go under, well, I'll go around the room. What do you guys think is the number that Holyfield has to beat? Is it 4.65, 4.62? I don't really know what the difference is between those two, but what's the number he has to be under in order to really improve his draft stock and to show that the Combine was a fluke? Maybe it was jitters, maybe he wasn't feeling 100% or something. What's the number he has to put up to say, okay, hey, this is me, and it's not really a one-time fluke. The Combine was the fluke.
4.7.
Okay.
If he gets 4.7 or below, I think he's jumped up around maybe 2. Right now, where do we think he sits? 6th, 7th round to undrafted after that 40.
I mean, I think it just depends.
He's not much of a receiver,
right? That's the big thing.
Or he hasn't been.
Yeah.
So I think if he runs 4.7 or below, he could jump up around maybe 2. And that day 3, it's hard to pin one round that someone will go in this far out. But
right.
Yeah, so I think he could, if he hits that 4.7 or below, he could really help himself out.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say 4.65, but I mean, that's in the same sort of ballpark as you, Colin. I think, the thing is, like, we try to put a projection on where he's going to get drafted, but like, obviously, because the reason that Combine time was so surprising is because you watch him play, and it doesn't seem like he's a guy that's that slow.
Yeah.
So if he finds that NFL team who, whether puts more stock in game tape, like, you know what I mean? If he finds that NFL team and says, you know what, we don't care what the Combine numbers say, we're impressed with the tape, we're impressed with whatever private workouts we've had with him. I mean, I'm not saying there's going to be one team that takes him in the first round or anything, but if he convinces, a team that, maybe needs a second running back, if the Browns end up trading Duke Johnson, something like that. Not that I would have anything to know
always
about
the Browns.
Yeah. It's been a big week for me, Colin. Okay, it's been a big couple weeks. But, a team like that maybe wouldn't draft him to be a starter like the Rams did with Todd Gurley, something like that. But maybe in the 4th round, 5th round, maybe. But again, that, basically not every team might not put as much stock in the 40 as other teams, if that makes any sense. So.
Okay, so I get that. Not everyone's going to put as much stock in that 40. I think Holyfield can't really hurt his status a lot more because I don't think he's going to run any slower than what he did in the combine.
That's true.
And so I think it'll only help. But, other than that, out of this receiving group that left, you've got Terry Godwin who graduated and he's out the door. But then Hardman and Ridley are both gone a year early. And I think those are some guys that could have some promise in the NFL with their speed, with their hands, and their way to run routes. And obviously, Ridley's got a good jump with his brother doing good things with the Falcons already. So out of those 3, that receiving group, and let's throw Isaac Nada in there too. Out of those 4, who's got the biggest kind of chip on their shoulder going into pro day and then into the draft?
I think it has to be Nada, because, all season he was kind of underused throughout the Georgia offense. And, when he came out, there was a lot of analysts saying that he probably shouldn't have came out. I think the tape they said was probably, 3rd or 4th round pick. So I think he has a lot to prove. And, he's got that chip on his shoulder to show that, he has that top, that top 1st and 2nd round talent. He just needs to show it to the world right now.
So, yeah, he's a highly rated recruit, 5-star recruit. Good player while he was here. When they threw him the ball, he was pretty effective. But yeah, I think if he tests maybe even a little better, I think he's in a decent spot. The 40 time wasn't great, but he's a good athlete. He should be able to go, I think, 3rd, 4th round, I think is fair for him. Because these tight ends really, they don't look, unless you're trying to go top 15, the college production doesn't matter as much. They're looking for athletes at this position. They're looking for who they can mold as just the freak athlete, the Antonio Gates, these type of guys. So, I think Nada stands to gain the most. But the best prospect out of that group is Riley Ridley.
Yeah, I agree.
He's been projected high 2nd round even. Now he's steady. I don't see him as super elite in any one area. He doesn't have Mecole Hardman's speed or anything like that, but he's got good hands. He's got good speed. He's a good route runner. I think he'll be a good number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. So I don't know how much he can gain today in the combine setting just because he's not going to go out there and run 4.35 or anything. But I think a lot of teams might be here to see him.
Yeah,
regardless of whether or not he's going to put up those eye-popping numbers.
I think Terry Godwin too. If there's 3 of us and 3 receivers, so I guess you might as well round it out. I think Terry Godwin's a guy who, he can prove to be that guy. Like I said, no one's 40 at the combine or anything was super impressive like that. I think he's got a chance to maybe work up there. Could he be a special teams guy for somebody? And it's like, speaking of special teams guys, there's a lot of guys here who weren't invited to the combine, and this is their own I know I'm just looking at the roster right now. Keon Richardson's out here, Jackson Harris.
Right.
Jason Stanley even, there's a lot of guys who I don't know, we're not making a sob story 30 for 30 out here, but this is their only shot to maybe make an NFL roster.
Right.
To their only chance to work out. If they don't make an impression today, then this is it, right? There's nothing really there's nothing else for them to do. So I don't know, those stories are just kind of interesting. Obviously, DeAndre Baker, we can debate on whether he's going to get drafted or not, but he's going to make the NFL. Ledbetter, Nada, even Natrez Patrick, probably Riley. All those guys are going to be in the NFL. But those guys, on a day like today, those are the guys that are interesting. Also, Lamont Gilliard didn't work out at the combine. I don't know what
he'll do.
Yeah,
all he did was step on the scales in Indianapolis.
Yeah. So I guess today's his. He was obviously one of the top centers in the SEC, but is that going to translate to the NFL? And when he gets the chance to work out for some of these NFL guys today too. So anyway, had to veer off the receivers a little bit, but it's anyway. Interesting stuff.
Well, a ton of coverage will be that way. We'll have plenty of coverage, both video and some written articles from Henry and Quentin coming your way a little bit later. It's just a quick yes or no. Yesterday, Bill Belichick, the picture rolling around the old internet of him at Alabama Pro Day, had the A and the Nike swoosh on his chest, was wearing some Alabama gear. Odds that he's in Athens today, and odds that we see a pic of him with a Power G.
Odds that he's in Athens today, quite high.
Yeah, I was going to say 98%.
He likes the Georgia players.
Yeah.
Right.
We saw last year.
I don't know about the Georgia G. I was very surprised to see the gear.
That was weird.
It was weird.
Because, why?
What happened to
Right.
Because I'm assuming...
What, did he forget to bring his own clothes
you
or
think
something?
New England could supply with some windbreakers out there.
Yeah, I feel like he could just point at someone and be like, hey, go buy me something that is not
right.
Alabama stamped.
Because he's not... I'm assuming he just doesn't have Alabama jackets at home. I obviously don't know.
Yeah,
but
that was a gift from
weird.
Saban, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody sets it up for him, like, "Hey, Bill, we want you to wear this."
It seems
this
weird.
pullover.
Belichick doesn't seem like the type to
do that.
Like a Alabama PR person hands like, "Hey, Bill, put the sweater on." He's like, "Okay, sure." He'd growl at him and
He'd be
walk
like,
away.
we're on to Georgia Pro.
Right.
Right.
I don't know. It was, good for him. Crimson is his color. I don't know what else to say, but
Yeah, so
good for him.
We'll see what happens today. But yesterday was the start of spring football. Kirby Smart had his opening press conference, and this is how he started it. Jed, Colin, you guys can toss on the headphones in front if you want to hear it real quick.
Thanks, Claude. What a great time to be a dog. Spring season's in full effect, and I think all you guys know what a great record a lot of our spring sports are having. And I want to bring a lot of attention to the women's tennis team, ranked 2 in the country, just coming off an international
So I'll skip past
championship.
this.
What an incredible job they've done. We got here at the University of Georgia. So when you look across the athletic department, including football program, we want to be a team that has momentum. I'm excited about the future of our program. We've kind of had a motto we've been saying around here for the last couple months that if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. And we've gone with that because we need to be challenged. We need to be focused on challenging good players, challenging players that are young, challenging players that just got here. But we got a lot of all those categories. I'm really proud of the all-season conditioning program. Coach Sinclair's done a tremendous job, and I think anytime you talk to strength coaches, they'll always tell you how much gains they made. And you're like, well, if you're always making gains, when do you ever have a down off season? But it was nice for us, I think, for these, which is extremely unique for me. I don't know that I've ever been part of a program that had.
So basically, he opens up by, first off, going around all the spring sports and kind of naming off what's been happening.
It's a great time to be a dog.
Glazes over the basketball seasons. Does not mention the winter seasons and what happened to those two teams.
He was there at senior night. And so
Yeah.
I guess
Yes.
14 points in the first half didn't do it for him.
But then he mentioned some of the goals that the team has in the spring, and on defense they want to create, quote, havoc, and that they've been studying the top 10 teams in havoc last year and disruptive plays, creating negative yardage, and try to implement that into the defense. And then offensively, the first thing you mentioned was filling the holes, particularly at wide receiver. And so going into the spring, what are some other things that you guys are looking for from this team? It seems like for the first time in a long time, Colin mentioned it a couple weeks ago, no real quarterback controversy. The only controversy might be who's going to get the backup reps, right? Mm-hmm. Jake Fromm's the clear-cut starter. But what do you guys make of that? The wreak havoc and the old fill the holes. I mean, it's nothing new, but
I think
it's something to open with, I guess.
The havoc thing. I mean, the first thing I think of is sacks. I mean, because that was something I was talked about with this team last year a lot. Is
better
the lack
pass
of
rush, yeah.
Right. I mean, because Kirby, he always says it's not all about the sacks, but at a certain point, when you can throw in a couple 8-yard losses on passing plays throughout the game, that will help you win games. No matter what anybody says. So I think that's something, and you look at, so that then leads to who are going to be those guys that rush the passer. Obviously, DeAndre Walker's gone. I think this is a big year for Walter Grant. I mean, he was a guy coming into last year that was really kind of looked at to be one of those next guys in the Wolfpack group, and he really didn't do much.
Yeah, no.
So, it's the question, is he going to be that guy to step up, or is he going to be surpassed by guys? I mean, obviously, Brenton Cox got a lot of time last year. I remember Aziz Ojolari played well in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah.
You got, Adam Anderson's out there, all those, the incoming freshmen, all those guys.
A lot of cooks in the kitchen.
That'll
be interesting to watch this spring. I think that's the most interesting position.
There's really no clear cut. I mean, I guess probably day one of practice yesterday, if I had to guess, I wasn't at practice yesterday, but I would guess that Walter Grant and Brenton Cox were your number ones at outside linebacker, but that really doesn't mean much because A, that position rotates anyway, but B, there's not a lot of, when you don't have that one guy. Well, the one guy from last year was DeAndre Walker, who's obviously competing in the indoor facility at Pro Day right now. So when you don't have that number one clear-cut replacement, it's kind of like the receivers. It's a by committee sort of thing. So we'll see how that battle shakes out throughout the spring and into the fall.
Yeah, I mean, for me, offensively, I think the biggest thing I want to know, yes, the receivers, you lost pretty much the whole receiving group. I think 4 of the top 6 receivers from a year ago are out the door. Swift and Holloman are the only ones in that top 6 that are left. But past DeAndre Swift in the running game, who is that clear-cut second back? He's going to be 1A. Who will be 1B? Number 2 is Brian Herrien going to get his shot. Zamir White not practicing this spring, not doing any contact drills. He'll be off to the side doing stuff. Is James Cook going to get some more looks? I mean, Kirby threw out a lot of these names, but didn't give any specifics as you'd expect. So I want to know, who do you guys think will emerge out of that running backs room as kind of the clear-cut number 2 to eat up some reps?
I think it's interesting because, I mean, you look at the 3. I mean, obviously Zamir White isn't going to practice in the spring, but when you look ahead to the fall, you've kind of got 3 very different guys. I mean, James Cook is the speed guy, explosive, he's shifty, he's elusive. Brian Herrien is a guy who might not have, he's not the freak athlete of the other guys, but he's the guy that, at least to me, he always seems like he runs really hard. He's always falling forward.
Kirby loves Brian Herrien.
Some Brian Herrien.
Well, I was kind of surprised that Brian Herrien was still here. I mean, after Elijah Holyfield left, it made a little more sense, but until that point, Brian Herrien didn't get really many reps.
On those depth charts.
And to try and, maybe build up some more, go somewhere where he could get reps and maybe not use all the mileage on his tires. I thought that if Elijah Holyfield decided to stay, Brian Herrien would likely transfer. But now, like you said, Kirby Smart, big fan of Brian Herrien, and Herrien's got a real shot at getting some more time out in the field.
Mm-hmm. This spring, I expect Herrien to be like the number 2, like on G-Day, getting the most reps behind Swift. I'd be surprised if White was not the guy, though, come fall.
That's what I think.
I think that's the sense of most people.
He's kind of the, like when I wrote my running backs preview, it's like Brian Herrien runs hard, James Cook's the shifty guy, and then you got Zamir White, who's just the freak of nature, all-around running back guy. Yeah. So I would think the same thing if he's back to – because he should be, close to 100% healthy by – pretty close to the end of spring, right? He should be there for, whatever summer workouts they do, he should be back pretty – he should be back pretty quick. So because when you think a couple years ago with Nick Chubb, he was hurt, at the beginning of October, and he was back September 1st the next year, and Zamir got hurt, beginning of August?
Yeah.
So
full year, basically, 12 months.
Right. Yeah. Especially by the time summer workouts and all that start. And obviously those aren't practices per se. Practice doesn't start till the beginning of August. So he'll have a whole month of practice as that guy. And I think, and like I said, running back, it's such a rotation anyway. We talk about the 1B. It's not like quarterback where there's like, you know what I mean? Like the 1 guy, the 2 guy. But obviously Elijah Holyfield was the 1B last year. So I think if I'm a betting man, which I've been known to be from time to time, I would put
old Riverboat Jed.
Yeah.
Look, man,
Riverboat Jed.
Look,
who's your money go on?
Who's my money go on? I would say Zamir White.
Okay,
personally, just because he's the all-around guy. James Cook, I think, is interesting because he was used a lot at the beginning.
They'll use him, I think.
Yeah, more than last year.
He's such a fast. There's got to be a way. There's a way to use all 4 of them, and not to mention you got Kenny McIntosh too. So I don't know. It's always interesting every year when you got this much talent in a running back room to see how it all shakes out, and this year's no different.
Yeah. What do you think?
If I was betting, Matt, I would say this. I would put Brian Herrien as the first, as a backup for the first couple games, and then I wouldn't be surprised to see Zamir White kind of transition into that number 2 role. But as we said, there really isn't a clear-cut number 2 role. It's just kind of whatever the coaches are feeling on any particular game. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Brian Herrien get a majority of the reps alongside DeAndre Swift opening day and first couple games, really.
Yeah, and I think Herrien and White are going to have a lot of reps out there, but I think James Cook has a lot to show this year, especially if he can prove that he can catch some passes and maybe
run inside,
and maybe a couple plays he gets thrown out in the slot receiver spot where he's running a little route in the flat and gets a check down and able to take stuff there. But from the initial chats, it doesn't seem like the offense is going to change that much with James Coley calling plays. When he was at Miami, it was the air attack. It wasn't the offense that was really the problem when James Coley led the Miami offense. Their defense was bad. Now in his 4th season here at Georgia, it's probably going to be the opposite. Kirby Smart said probably the most entertaining thing he said yesterday was that they're not going to recreate the wheel on offense. And so they're going to run the ball some more, and then throw it when they need to. So does that surprise you guys at all?
No.
Yeah.
No. Like, come on. What's Kirby supposed to say? Like, hey, yeah, we're going to come out here 5 wide every play. No. Coley, I think where you could see a change is I think you could see maybe a little more up-tempo. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Fromm seems to thrive in that type of thing. That it seemed like every time they went no huddle quick, Fromm was able to really get comfortable. So I could see maybe the tempo changing at times, not all the time. But yeah, for the most part, this is going to be a very similar, if not the same offense. But, it is what it is. Yeah, the Kirby's not going to bring in he doesn't play Mike Leach air raid. So
yeah. Yeah, and I gotta say one of the strong takeaways from yesterday, Jake Fromm asked obviously about how things will be different with James Coley. He said, it's exciting. Things might get a little new. We'll try and be congruent. Maybe you'll click on the tape, we'll be explosive, or maybe we'll be fluid. Maybe I don't know if it's stuff that you'll be able to see on the tape, or maybe you can't.
Anything could happen.
Yeah, he is phenomenal, like giving all possible outcomes. At the end of his chat with the print media, he did refer to himself as an intellectual, and so putting that out there, saying that he loves learning, so he wouldn't be opposed to a rehaul of the playbook and learning some new things. But plenty of more spring football coverage coming your way. We are just getting started. We'll have beat writers there every single availability, pro day to day. Keep up to date with all of your information from Quinton and Henry. I think Jed's got to bounce out the door for the second half. Is that right?
Yeah, I got a tennis tournament. Tennis is winding down.
I thought it was something cooler.
We caught that's cool, mine, because we caught the dub on Monday.
There it is. Doubles. So doubles,
right?
Oh.
Doubles. So got another match today. We are in the Georgia bracket. So
What's the other?
What is the other? Yeah,
Bulldogs. So,
wow, we're getting creative here.
Yeah. So if any of you folks want to come out and watch some high flying tennis,
I want to watch Jed's big serve. Get out there.
Big serve. That's right. I got.
You prefer like playing in the net or the back row?
I like playing at the net because the thing is, so I'm tall.
Well, you're lanky. Yeah.
Radio people, I am tall. So the thing is, when people because it's IM tennis, so no one's like a pro out there. So when people hit it back. It's kind of
you just spike it.
Exactly,
yeah.
I spike it because I'm tall and
Jed goes Wii tennis on him.
I don't know much. Exactly, I go Wii tennis. I grab my little remote and just slam it into the ground. So I'm not any good either, but I'm tall, so that helps.
Best of luck, Jed. We will keep all of our loyal listeners up to date on if Jed won next week. We'll let you know what happens and if he advanced.
Stuff. Yeah.
But with that, we'll jump into kind of a spring sports roundup and what's been going on lately. Last night, the baseball team, which. There are 3 polls in college baseball. Really
ridiculous. Let's get one poll.
Which I 100% agree. And the D1Baseball.com poll after Georgia's sweep of South Carolina over the weekend had the Bulldogs up to number 5.
I saw that. Yeah,
that is crazy.
Where are they in the other 2 polls?
About 11 to 15.
I'd say that's probably correct.
I would agree. But right now, it's hard to deny that they've been playing some good baseball.
Yeah.
19-2 on the year, have won 10 games in a row. Just beat Georgia State last night 11-1, and the game by no means was an offensive explosion, but the team drew 10 walks on offense. Tim Elliott had another strong start on the mound, and he pitched against Georgia State just last week as well. And when you look down the 9th inning, there were mass defensive substitutions, and Scott Strickland, one of the first things he said after the game was, look, you go out there, look at our team in the 9th inning, and that's still a pretty good baseball team. That's something they've been preaching, the entire team, that sense of confidence, and that they lost some key players, but they've got some great depth this year, and it's showing off early, but a big, big test this weekend as the LSU Tigers are coming to Athens for a 3-game set. LSU has lost, I think, 4 or 5 games to open up the year, but the Tigers, one of the best teams in college baseball, a perennial powerhouse. So a huge test this weekend. So for you guys, Jed forgot his laptop.
Jed's computer.
I was about to point that out.
So for you guys, the baseball team, I'm not sure how much you've been keeping up with it, but what do you guys think are sort of...
Jed wants someone to take it out to the lobby.
Well, it looks like Yash
is
going to jump on that. So
this
Colin,
is awful. Okay.
Colin, for you, what do you think are kind of legitimate expectations for this team? I know we talked about that with basketball for next year, but is this a super regional, maybe Omaha-bound team, or is it just
if you're ranked as number 5 by a poll, conventional wisdom on the surface would say you should get to Omaha, but the SEC is so good. I'd rather wait till they get into the conference play to really.
Yeah, didn't they start like this last year?
They
They won semi-hot last year.
They won 2 or 3 from Alabama, and then they swept South Carolina. So started like 5-1 in conference play a year ago, and then a good season last year, the best one under Scott Strickland yet.
Yeah.
But this is shaping up to exceed that by a long margin. And the biggest thing has been the pitching has been really good. They've got some arms in there, and it seems like everybody on offense can hit. But I don't know. I tend to agree. I think everybody kind of needs to hold their horses and. I don't want to be Debbie Downer because 19-2 is a pretty good feat. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Yes, that embarrassing loss to LIU Brooklyn, bad loss to Georgia Southern when you give up 7 runs on 0 hits in an inning.
Hard to do.
I think I could have gotten out of the inning in that one. Throw it over the plate, it'll eventually find a glove.
Right.
So there's a really good chance this team could be 21-0, and that conversation might be a little bit different. But I don't know. I think we'll see what happens with LSU this weekend. At Kentucky next weekend, that's no easy task.
Yeah, this will be the measuring stick, these next 2 series. This weekend, I'd be very impressed and bought in if they win 2 of the 3 games. I think that's a big win if they win this series.
I agree. And then conference play is a grind, and then the midweek games don't get easier as well. Georgia Tech still on the schedule 3 times. Got to play Clemson twice, Kennesaw State again. And so a lot to be said still about the Georgia baseball team. Softball team, not off to the best start, off to a very good start, but nothing like where they were last year when they were in the midst of a 24-game win streak. So we'll see what happens with them. The softball team also hosting LSU this weekend. We'll have the call of that one on 90.5 on Friday night. And then the Red and Black will have beat writers out there for all 3 games over the weekend. Tennis, track and field, outdoor seasons are starting to ramp up, guys. Track and field coming off of the indoor national championships over spring break. Some good showings, but obviously no team national championship like the woman were able to capture a year ago. Colin, yes, you're kind of our tennis guys in here. Colin, earlier, about a month ago, maybe even longer ago, you said, I want to know if the poor season for the men was a fluke or what the deal is. So I want your thoughts on that. And then, yes, you're covering the team right now, kind of in the last few times you've been out there or chatting with them. What's the general vibe around the team?
So, before college starts right now, I actually just got put on the beat. But I remember this past summer, I was just checking my phone and I saw an update that Nathan Pondwith got kicked off the team for some charges in Alabama. And, that was a whole fiasco trying to cover that team last season because there were so many storylines, so many stuff just going on.
Yeah.
Breaking news pretty much every weekend with them. And honestly, I don't think it's going to stop because this team just looks like it's on a downward spiral right now.
They're up and down. They've beaten some good teams. And they played a tough schedule. They've lost some competitive matches to really good teams, too. Texas, a top 5 team, they gave them a competitive match, but they lost. They lost at A&M, who's one of the better teams in the SEC, 4-3. But they've beaten some teams, too. Tennessee is good. They beat Tennessee. They beat LSU. They're coming off a win against South Carolina on Sunday. I think this is still a good team. And I know when I covered them 2 years ago, when they made a Final Four run.
Yeah, they were amazing that year.
They started really rough. They had a 5-game losing streak at 5-match losing streak. It took them a little while to get their footing, but once they did, they were dynamite. So I'm not ready to write this team off yet by any means. But they got back-to-back road matches coming with Ole Miss and Mississippi State. So they're going to have to get it together quick. They sit at 7-6 right now. But they have some pieces that can make them a good team. But they got to start hitting the ground running.
Yeah, I remember last year, towards the latter end of the season, I know their doubles play was the one that always, ended up, getting them back in the, in the game because, their doubles play was just not very consistent. There was rotations in who was pairing up for the doubles play, and that obviously had a lot to do with Walker Duncan being injured for majority of the season, but having him back is really good. But they obviously lost Nathan Pondwith, who was a really big player in their doubles play, but they really have to get that very down and consistent if they want to start progressing more in the future.
Right now, they're ranked 22nd. Yeah. That's not what they expect. They're one of the best programs in the country. I believe they expect to be higher, but they still have time to get up there and make a late season push. So we'll see. Again, they're in a tough conference. Lots of ranked teams in the SEC, specifically led by Florida, who's in the top 5. But they're going to have to emerge. They're going to have to find their consistency soon. But it could happen.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Plenty of competition to go for both tennis and track. The women's tennis team, number 2 in the country, obviously coming off of a big indoor national championship. Speaking of national championships, swimming and diving, the women's national championships began today down in Austin, Texas. 10 swimmers and 2 divers will be down there competing, and they've trained. They're ready to go. Obviously, a very storied program. Caitlin Casazza, Veronica Burchill, Sophia Carnival, I think that's how you pronounce it, and then plenty more that'll be there for the swimmers. Mackenzie Austin and Frida Lim will be the 2 divers, and so we'll see what the outlook is on the swimming and diving team. Women have the national championships this week. The men will have the national championships a week from now, but a lot to see from there. Lots of great swimmers in the pool. We'll see if anybody can capture an individual title and maybe make a run of the team one as well. This weekend, down in New Orleans, we will have our team covering the gymnastics SEC championships.
Yes, we will.
Augusta Stone, Tori Heck, and I believe Henry Queen will be down there as well, live from the Big Easy, covering the Gym Dogs, who have a huge following. Everybody knows how successful they are. SEC championships this weekend. Colin, huge meet coming up. What are kind of expectations going into it? And then I don't want to make a guess. First time ever, I'm assuming that the beat writers are going to be there, because typically I feel like SEC tournaments and men's and women's basketball are where the beat writers go. But now we've got a team going down to New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't know if it's first time ever.
Right.
But first time in recent memory.
There you go.
In the last couple of years, we typically go to one tournament per spring semester. It's usually the men's basketball tournament. This year, I axed that. I felt that their chances of winning the thing were minimal.
Yeah.
Same thing with the women's team. I felt like of our spring teams that we cover, of our groups of beat writers, Jim, they've done a good job covering the team, and the team has proved to be a legitimate SEC contender, and our readers care about it a lot. So we're going to send our team down there. We got a squad. We got 3 writers. We got a photographer, and we're going to see what happens. They're the 3 seed in the SEC. They're coming off a win. They beat Utah, who's ranked number 6 in the country. They're performing really, really well right now. Georgia's proved they're getting back to being one of those elite programs, and as stacked as the SEC is, I think the Gym Dogs do have a legitimate chance of winning this SEC championship. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out, because there are just some heavy hitters at this event. But we're excited to go and cover it.
Yeah, so a ton of action going on both in Athens and on the road this weekend. Augusta Stone, Tori Heck, Henry Queen, and then we'll have a photographer down there as well. Keep up to date with all of them for live updates from New Orleans for the SEC Gymnastics Championships. All right, guys, so we did a quiz a couple weeks ago. I forgot who won. I think Colin might have won, or somebody took the 1,000-point question. But I'm going to bring it back a little bit. I've got a trivia question for the 2 of you, and we're going to see who can answer it. It has to do with some of the coverage from the past week, and we'll see who's been keeping up well. 20 years ago, in 1999, the women's swimming and diving team captured its first national championship. That was 20 years into Jack Barrowley's tenure as head coach, and it was the first one that he won. They have won 7, I believe. This standout freshman was a key piece of that championship team. No cheating.
What year?
99.
I assume this is a recognizable name.
Yes, and I mean, yes. Should be. I don't know how to answer that without kind of giving more of a hint. 1999. This standout freshman. Big part of the women's swimming and diving championship. Great story by Sydney Cohn earlier this week, looking back at that national championship.
Oh, so is it Stephanie Williams Moreno?
Oh, man, I gave it away.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. Yes, it is current.
Well, I'm glad Colin got that, because I did not know.
Yeah.
Stephanie Williams Moreno, standout freshman at the University of Georgia a couple decades ago, was part of that first championship team with Jack Bowerly, and now currently on the coaching staff for the Bulldogs. She'll be down in Austin this week, keeping up with everything that happens with the swimming and diving team as well. But guys, it is the middle of March, and that can only mean one thing. Oh, I'm playing the March Madness music. Nobody has headphones on but me.
Can we get sued for this?
No.
Okay, all right.
And so March is upon us. That means it's the greatest time for college basketball bracket season. I've got a little bracket that I made if you guys want to go through it in a minute, but just kidding. And so with that, your final 4 picks for the year at least. I mean, I thought I made a cool bracket, and then I looked down and I see the old haha. Let's not do this, which is
Axed. Yes.
All right. I've been overruled. That's fine. Final 4 picks then for the big bracket, the big dance. First 4 games. There were 2 last night. There are 2 tonight. Having a little fun. Colin, I guess we can start with you. Who are your teams that you're picking to be in Minneapolis?
Okay, I'm going to go out on a big limb here and say Duke makes the Final Four.
Wow.
Yeah, bold of me. I say they will face Florida State in the Final Four, the 4 seed out of that region. The Zags, I like the Gonzaga. I'm not one of those jumping off the bandwagon, but I think Florida State is a nightmare matchup for them. I think they are also underseeded at 4. So yeah, I like Gonzaga in that. I like Florida State in that matchup with Gonzaga. Florida State plays great defense. They can slow it down. They've got a lot of length and some guys that can score, especially Kabengele. It's Dikembe Mutombo's nephew. They bring him off the bench for some reason, but the guy's like a total stud. He's one of the most efficient offensive players in America. But yeah, their experience, made an Elite 8 run last year. So I like them to upset Gonzaga and beat Texas Tech in the Elite 8. I don't think Texas Tech scores enough, so that's why I like Florida State in that region.
Who's Duke beating the Elite 8?
Duke beats Michigan State. I think this year you're going to see a lot of 1-2 matchups in the Elite 8.
Yeah.
I think there's a drop off after those 1 and 2 seeds in for the most part. Then I like North Carolina, of course. I love this North Carolina team. Yeah. They got the experience, Cam Johnson, Lukey legend, Luke May, and then I love watching some Kobe White. So I like North Carolina in the Final Four against Tennessee. I like Tennessee over Virginia.
I said the same thing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did. No one trusts Virginia.
Yeah, if you start scoring against them, they can't do anything.
Right. I like Tennessee. They're battle tested. Yeah, they got their behinds handed to them in the SEC title game against Auburn, but they looked all the part against Kentucky in that comeback down 8 with 2.5 minutes left, come back and win. They got all the experience. They got the studs with Grant Williams, Admiral Schofield, Jordan Bone. So I like North Carolina versus Tennessee in one semifinal, Duke versus Florida State. And so therefore my national championship is every college basketball fan's dream, Duke Carolina 4 for the title. And I like the Tar Heels. I think North Carolina wins it all. All the talk was, just wait until Duke gets Zion back. North Carolina can't beat them. And they just barely scrape by them. You're not going to beat a team 4 times in a year. So I think it was actually a good thing Carolina lost that game.
Right.
And I think we're going to be talking about an amazing freshman in the Final Four, and it's not going to be Zion Williamson. I like Kobe White, Final Four MOP. I like North Carolina to cut down the nets for the second time in 3 years.
Wow, I actually had the same national championship game. I had Duke, North Carolina, but I had Duke winning this one. I know with Zion coming back, they just barely scraped by North Carolina. First of all, that game was fantastic. That was probably one of the best.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was probably one of the best college basketball games I've seen in my entire life. My little sister, who's not a basketball fan at all, just got glued onto the TV. She was like, wow, this crowd is amazing. This atmosphere is insane. And I told her the same thing. I've never seen an atmosphere close to that before. But my Final Four is actually Duke, Gonzaga, Tennessee, North Carolina. So a very stereotypical
you're getting
four.
Bold. Yeah.
3-1 seeds.
Yeah. And a 2 seed. Wow.
But is it actually going to happen? I don't think so, but I'm just going to go with that one. But I actually have Belmont going all the way to Elite 8.
Wow.
I like Belmont.
I like Belmont,
I've got them in
too.
the Sweet 16, I think.
They've got Maryland coming up, and I think if they get past Maryland, then they're
their
poised.
second round matchup would be LSU, who
I think LSU might lose to Yale.
Wait for the loser of the week.
Okay.
Wink, wink. We'll talk more about LSU.
Just kidding. Okay, so before we get to the loser of the week, I got my picks real quick. I think Duke makes it out of their region. I think it's hard to pick against them with who they're stacked up against.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys about Tennessee. I think Tennessee will probably win in that one if they get past Cincinnati in the second game. Virtually a road game for the
Cincinnati
Vols.
criminally underseeded.
Well,
a 7 seed? That's a joke.
And it'll be a road game for the Vols essentially in Columbus against Cincinnati this weekend. So if they can get past them, I think that they've a good shot at getting to the Final Four. I've got Kentucky and North Carolina in the Elite Eight, and I don't know which way I'm leaning. I'm leaning North Carolina, but I wouldn't be surprised either way. I think both of them are teams that could easily win the national championship if they get hot, but I'll go Carolina. And then I've got Buffalo.
Buffalo, I love it.
Final Four, the 6th seed, Buffalo.
Wow. I got them going out in the Elite Eight.
No respect for the Buffs. I picked them back in January when they were on a hot streak, and I feel like it's too late to go against them now. I think Buffalo's in a great spot. They don't have.
They're good.
They are good, and they
31-3,
and they don't have a Duke, a Carolina, any of those blue bloods really, other than maybe a Gonzaga in their region, where they might be just vastly, out talented by the other teams. So I like Buffalo coming out of there. So and then I've got Duke beating Buffalo. And then, I'm going to flip back and forth on this one. I'm probably going to end up with like 3 or 4 different brackets because of this. But I think I'm leaning North Carolina over Tennessee at the moment. And then Carolina wins it a la Chris Jenkins, Villanova over Carolina last year. But it's going to be Cam Johnson pulling up for a 3, banks it in from the right wing to win at the buzzer.
Bank shot. Wow. Mine's already calling bank.
Wow.
It'll be open. It's a Monday.
So you like Carolina to win it all?
I like Carolina to cut down the nets. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I buy into this Carolina redemption tour against Duke, but if we don't get a Duke Carolina final, I'm going to be bitterly disappointed.
Yeah,
because I've already gotten myself excited for it.
Right, and that would be incredible.
Yeah,
that atmosphere in Minneapolis. So a couple weeks ago in March Madness, but a little fun with that. We'll see who is the closest in their Final Four predictions. But Colin, with that, it's that time. Colin's loser of the week, and he gave us a little hint that it would have to do with Baton Rouge. But here we go.
Yeah, so you might think if I'm talking about LSU basketball, the loser of the week is going to be Will Wade. That is incorrect. It is everyone chanting "Free Will Wade" and "Fire Joe Leva" at these LSU games. Free Will Wade? Are you kidding me? Okay, here we go. Here's the Yahoo Sports story. We're going to read what Will Wade said on an FBI wiretap. It's hard to... The feds got you, Will. The phones were tapped, all right? So here we go. He made a strong A-word offer to the smart... regarding the smart thing. Okay. What? Yeah, cryptic. Especially when a kid on your team's last name is Smart and you made him an offer during the recruiting process. Wow, shocking. I was thinking last night on this smart thing, Wade said. I'll be honest with you. I'm bleep tired of dealing with this thing. Like, I'm just bleep sick of dealing with the bleep. Like, this should not be that bleep complicated.
Wow, big bleep guy.
Dude, Wade continued to Dawkins, referring to the third party involved in the recruitment. I went to him with a strong bleep offer about a month ago. Bleep strong. How do you defend yourself against this? And so LSU suspends Will Wade.
Dude wants to come back.
Will Wade makes a statement that he thinks the school's wrong and he should coach.
Yeah.
Not included in that statement is, I did nothing wrong. That has not been said by the Wade camp yet.
Yeah.
Yet you got all these jabronis at the LSU game, the Maravich Center, chanting "Free Will Wade" as you win the SEC championship. And then as college basketball karma comes around, first game in the SEC tournament, you lose. Goodbye. So now, as you said, no Will Wade in the tournament. I'd be shocked if he coached at any point. Yeah. This guy's coached another game at LSU. Yeah. This guy got caught with his hand in the cookie jar. You got Yale. I think they scrape by Yale. I think it's going to be a close game. I think they get by Yale.
I have them going out right away.
And I don't have them getting past the second round. I think I have them losing to Belmont in the second round. So, yeah, LSU fans, I don't know how you defend against this. They're pointing to the Sean Miller report from last year about, maybe that one was a little wrong. The timeline was weird. And that was referencing wiretaps. I mean, I don't know how you defended it. Will Wade has said multiple times in press conferences, I've never done any business with Christian Dawkins. Well, guess what? We got wiretaps of you doing business with Christian Dawkins. You haven't told the truth about this thing the whole time, and Continuously, I will stay on this horse until he comes out and says, I did nothing wrong, or I did not pay anyone, any recruits. He has yet to say any of those things. He just says, this is BS. I want to coach. They should be loyal to me, even though I've put the entire program at risk, and we will likely face vacated wins and sanctions if these allegations turn out to be true. So, Will Wade, you're not the loser of the week. Everyone supporting you is the loser of the week because, Will Wade's already lost.
So that'll do it for us this week. On that note, thank you guys for tuning in. As always, the paper will be out tomorrow. Catch it at all your red bins around campus. Stay up to date with all content going on this week at Red Black Sports, redandblack.com/sports, and on Twitter as well, like I mentioned, at Red Black Sports. That's it for us. We'll catch you again, same time, same place, next Wednesday. Thanks for listening.